Good morning, everyone on the Educator's Edge. I have a very special guest with us here today. You've seen me post twice now about Curt Swarm. He is a writer. He is a columnist for many newspapers in the Midwest with his column called The Empty Nest. Here I got to know Curt when he did an article for me when I was launching my book, and I'm just so thrilled that his book is out now. His book is entitled Task Force IED, and it's Iowa National Guard's fight against IEDs in Iraq. And I was just so honored when he asked me to be one of the reviewers of this book. And I just want to read to you what I wrote for his review of this book. And by the way, Curt lives here in Mount Pleasant, Iowa, where I do. Task Force IED, historical fiction based on a true story. This story gripped me from the first paragraph until the last. This story shares the courage and the resolve of the soldiers as they bravely face the daily challenges of Task Force IED. The reader is left with a sense of gratitude to those who serve in our military forces and the unbelievable circumstances they encounter and face every single day. I found the storyline riveting and the characters compelling as they navigate the atrocities of war, a war with no way to gauge if you are winning. Does anyone really win a war? Perhaps I'm also left with the question, why do we choose to go to war? So I turn you over now to my friend, my fellow co-author in the writing world, Curt Swarm. And Curt, would you just tell our audience a little bit about yourself and throw in some of the other things that you've written too, because this is not your first rodeo with a book.
Very good, Denise. Thank you. And Denise and I are neighbors. She just lives north of me a couple miles on the gravel road. So we have a really good relationship. It's all about relationships. But Task Force IED, and IED stands for Improvised Explosive Device, of course. This is my third book. My first two books were autobiographical. This book, Task Force IED, is not about me. Although, as an artist told me, an artist that does portraits, every portrait is a self-portrait. So there's a lot of me in this book, even though it's not about me. I interviewed a lot of soldiers, both male and female soldiers, and their spouses, both male and female spouses, to get their stories. And then I wove all these stories together into one. It is fictionalized, but it is based on a true story. And it's quite compelling, carries a strong message. And as of yet, I haven't had a single negative feedback on it at all. It's all been very positive.
Well, it's understandable. I mean, so what was your original intention, Curt, of sharing this story with the world?
Well, the National Guard did approach me. One of the soldiers did approach me and said, this story needs to be written. It's quite a story. And they said that I'm just the person to write it. And they did ask me to write it. So that's how it got started. And then I interviewed all of these people, these different soldiers and their spouses, and I was just really stunned by what the story was. And there's multiple stories going on here that's quite impacting and quite profound. But I do bring it to an ending and offer a solution for for fighting, and also for all of the destruction with these soldiers once they return home, all the suicides and drug addiction and alcoholism and bankruptcies and the awful things that happened to a lot of them after their deployment, which shouldn't happen. 22 soldiers from the Middle East are dying by suicide each day following the war, and that's more than were killed in the war, and that's not right.
Wow.
Why is a person that's deployed for 1 year overseas have such a high rate
Mhm.
of suicide and and failure? It's quite shocking, and I do offer a solution for that.
Yes, you do. And I just think this is a must read for anyone. I just think people need to understand this was a different type of a war than we had ever fought. Am I correct on this?
Yeah, and this was this was a war. It wasn't so much a war of gun battles and kicking in doors. It was a war against IEDs, improvised explosive devices, and and I start off this story. It's an amazing story. There was two soldiers from the Iowa National Guard, one of them an officer and the other a sergeant. These two people did something that the entire military could not do. They came up with a computerized program for determining where these IEDs were located, when and where they were, within 80% accuracy. And this was something the entire military was working on and wasn't able to do. But these two National Guard soldiers from Iowa, because of their civilian backgrounds, the officer was had a degree in computer science and statistics, and the sergeant was very good at writing algorithms and reading the lay of the land. And these two soldiers put together this computer program that would estimate within 80% accuracy where these IEDs were located. So their battalion from Iowa, the Iowa National Guard, they were responsible for finding and removing over 800 IEDs, something that saved a lot of lives and prevented a lot of injuries. But it was only accurate to within 80%, and that 20% did cost lives. And so the downside of it was that 4 of the battalion soldiers did lose their lives to these IEDs.
No. Wow. Like I said, I started it early one Saturday morning and I did not put it down until I was done. It's just riveting, and I didn't know these facts, and I was so proud that it was Iowa, a couple of Iowans that figured this out, that were able to save hundreds of lives, right?
Right.
Wow.
Yep. They did this. Two soldiers from the Iowa National Guard, they were able to do something the entire military had been working on and hadn't been able to come up with an answer. And it's because of their civilian backgrounds, their training and their civilian lives, bringing that into the National Guard and the war in Iraq. And they were able to solve this very complicated. It wasn't really that complicated. It was actually rather simple once they figured out how to go about it.
That's amazing. So, Curt, how would you like your reader to feel after they read this story?
Well, I would like them to feel like there is hope and there is an answer. There is a solution to all of this high rate of suicide. And the solution is these soldiers coming together and working together to help each other out and and to learn forgiveness and to be there for each other. And that's the solution. And So there is hope, and I do wind it up with people feeling rather good about what they read and about what the story is about. So it doesn't just leave a feeling of hopelessness that why go on? This is a hopeless situation. There is hope,
Yes, there's,
and
and I think that's ways writers, when we write stories, it's always a way for us to share an adversity that might be somebody else's survival guide in the end. And I think by shining awareness on what's going on with, the military when they return home, hopefully it will inspire readers, especially those in civilian life, that could actually do something that could help with this in either in their occupation or in something they want to volunteer with, because we traditionally have not been as kind when people return. I remember I was just turning an adult when the Vietnam War was going on, and those returning had such a hard time. I don't think that's as the case as much anymore, because there was a lot of emphasis put on that, and maybe through books and maybe through conversations. But I think if people read your book and saw this story and understood it, there's just more ripples that will come off of that, by just saying, what can I do to help with this? And if they did nothing, are there any groups out there where even people could donate they're helping soldiers with their mental health after returning? I don't know a lot about that. And is there anything you know of? I'm just curious. This just came up in my mind as we were talking about this.
Yeah, and I do talk about it in the book. There's a program called Warriors with Wings that is very, very helpful to soldiers returning that are suffering from PTSD. And Warriors with Wings, once they go through the program, they earn their wings, and but that is a program that's pretty successful, and it's not just limited to veterans either. Anyone suffering from traumatic incidents are welcome to attend this, and it's a very good program.
That's wonderful. And really, when we support each other, that really is the key to dealing with things that are really hard and traumatic that people have gone through. When you find a support system, and through love and trust of the process, it can really, really make a difference. And I just applaud you for bringing this to light. And I'm so glad they contacted you. You definitely were the right person to write this book. And Curt, how can our audience find out more about you or connect with you?
Well, my email is pretty easy. It's just my name, Curt Swarm, Curt with a C, and swarm like a swarm of bees, curtswarm@yahoo.com, or my phone number. I enjoy getting phone calls, 319-217-0526, 319-217-0526. I'd love to hear from you, and I'd like to hear your story also. And so please feel free to contact me. And you can Google my name. And I do write a newspaper column. It's called The Empty Nest. And this column is in about 50 newspapers in 3 states. And I write for free. Also, there's no compensation except a lot of personal compensation, because it's a great creative outlet for me, and it's great discipline for me to be able to turn out a newspaper column every week. And I always put at the end of this column, contact me if you have a story. Do you have a story? Please contact me. And I'm also into photography, and I also like to make sculptures out of old rusty metal farm junk, and go to art shows and show this stuff off at art shows. My main art, though, however, is writing, and writing is an art. And I teach creative writing in the winter time, and I've taught three classes now, and I'm really pleased with the success that's come out of this creating writing class, because a number of the students have gone ahead to publish books and publish poetry from this creative writing class. We just meet once a week for 6 weeks. And you don't teach creative writing, you just give them an opportunity, give them a platform to write and say, go ahead and write. And then everyone critiques everyone's writing. And that's how you teach creative writing. And that's how it was taught to me. I have a degree in English from Iowa State University, and I've written all my life. And I teach my creative writing class exactly the way it was taught to me at Iowa State.
Awesome.
And by the way, I'd like to tell this story that I got started writing when I was a senior in high school. I was a class clown, the class goof off with bad grades, and never did anything except play sports, football, and that was me. I was a jokester, and you know the truth about the class clown. It's really a disguise for a sensitive person. But anyway, I wrote a short story in senior English class, and the English teacher threw it back at me with an F on it, and said that I had plagiarized, that I had copied it, that I wasn't talented enough to write that. But she really did me a favor. By the way, I got all that changed, but by her doing that, that really did tell me that I did have the talent. And so from that point on, I knew that I wanted to be a writer. And after I got out of the Navy, I'm a Vietnam era veteran. And yeah, I remember the negativity and coming back and the adverse reaction and the that was going on, and the bad things that were done towards veterans. And we didn't come back wearing our uniform, and we kind of hid it, and that we were veterans, and because there was such negativism about Vietnam veterans. And that's all changed, of course, now, because during 9/11, we were actually attacked. So that put a whole different impetus on it, and the veterans came back heroes instead of being despised. But why are those heroes? Why are they committing suicide and being such a failure? You know, that's not right. These are our heroes coming back, and they should feel like it, and they should be treated like it. And
Yeah.
And I do offer a theory that fighting a war like this should not be fought by an all-volunteer army with 1-year deployments. That should not happen. All-volunteer army with 1-year deployments, that basically what they're doing is keeping their heads down and protecting themselves for a year. So consequently, we have 20-year wars that aren't being won, that cost a lot of lives, both civilians and our soldiers, and are accomplishing nothing after 20 years. So I knew a World War II veteran that fought under Patton, and when he was in Europe fighting, he thought that he was never coming home, that he would die and never make it home. So consequently, they fought, and they fought to win that war, and they did. They won it, and he came home, and he came home to accolades too.
Yeah, lots of lessons learned. And I just hope
If,
that we take that lesson in a book like this that shows the story behind what happened during that war with real people and real situations based on a true story is just, it changes your view. It's very riveting. Thank you for that. And everyone, you
Thank
can
you.
get Curt's book at Amazon, Walmart, and Barnes and Noble. And there's that beautiful cover. And
Yeah.
beautiful, when I say beautiful, I'm talking about a beautiful soul that took the atrocity of war and made it jump out on the page to someone who never experienced that. And that is a true gift, my friend. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Denise.
Okay,
Thank you for having me.
you're welcome. We'll talk to you later.
Great. Good luck to you too.
Thank you.